Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon or this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world. And we're going to be talking today about creating the ultimate revenue generating guest journey in partnership with Airship. For those who don't know me, my name is Eloise Hanson, and I'm the editor hospitality for Boutique Hotel News. And we're an online multimedia platform covering the global boutique, lifestyle and luxury hotel industry. A quick intro to Airship before I hand over to Holly. Airship is a customer relationship management platform for hospitality businesses, and we have Holly on the call today, who's going to be sharing further insights during today's discussion. But Holly, why don't I hand over to yourself to introduce you and your role, but also give a more formal introduction to Airship, please. Over to you.
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name's Holly, and I am Business Development Manager for Hotels at Airship. Airship is a CRM focused in hospitality. So it is a centralised hub for all of your data to flow into, either by manual upload or automated upload as well, through lovely integrations such as PMS, table bookings, Wi-Fi, order and pay, and all of that lovely stuff. Through this data collection, we then target people through your marketing. So room stays, lots of table bookings, and we have automated journeys, birthday journeys, welcome journeys, and ultimately focus on guest retention and ROI for your business.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Holly. And we've got Holly's details in the chat there and the website to Airship if you would like to learn more. Let's meet our other speakers today, and I'm going to be coming to Lucy next. Please, Lucy, introduce yourself and Toggle.
Hello, thank you. So my name's Lucy. I'm head of sales for Airship and Toggle. Been with the business for about 3 years now and had an opportunity to work with an abundance of amazing brands in the sector. As Holly introduced Airship, I'll do a little introduction for Toggle. Toggle is a gift card and hospitality commerce platform. So it was initially designed as a gift card platform to help drive additional prepaid revenue for all types of different businesses in the sector, through the sale of gift cards, experiences, both online and also in venue as well. So if you think about an afternoon tea for two or a bed and breakfast experience, something you've probably either received or given to somebody in your life, it's a lovely gift all year round, and it's an amazing revenue driver for hospitality.
Thank you, Lucy. And once again, Lucy's details have been popped into the chat there if you want to connect with her and learn more. And last but not least, Andy, we're coming to you next, my friend. Over to you. Oh, Andy, you need to unmute your settings. Here we go.
That was a good start. Sorry, everybody. Hello, everybody. My name's Andy. I am the sales manager for Leonardo Hotel Group. We're very proud at the moment. We're the largest growing hotel group in Europe. And hopefully, in my personal opinion, within the next year, it could be breaking into America as well, which is really good. We have over 52 hotels in the UK and over 258 at present in Europe, including Israel. We have everything from your boutique hotels, catering for your funky weekend away, all the way through to the very serious meetings for up to 700 people. And I'm really looking forward to listening to a few of the insights and hopefully putting my point across of how I work with my clients and the industry as a whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy. And I'll just make a small announcement here that Michael can unfortunately no longer make the webinar today, and he does send his apologies. But all the LinkedIn profiles of our speakers are in the chat, and I actively encourage you to connect and carry on this conversation after we've finished today. Quick overview of how this webinar is going to run. We'll spend around 45 minutes in discussion, followed by any questions at the end from the floor. So if you do have any questions, please submit these using the Q&A function, and I will get round to those as and when relevant. And as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, and that replay will be sent out to everybody that has registered within 48 hours. Now, to get your brains thinking a bit wider about what we're going to be talking about today, and we always like to share some context, and these are typically headlines either within the last 3 months or so, or even the last year. And the top headline here, traveller spending habits set to increase in 2024, is a report by Squaremouth, which is a travel insurance marketplace. And the company polled 4,000 customers and found that 90% of travellers are spending more than they normally do. And whilst this is in part coincided with rising costs, 35% are planning a bucket list trip in 2024, and 15% that they said that they would take longer trips. And what this says to me is that travellers are leading more towards the experiential side of travel. And the fact that people are going to be staying for longer suggests that there's an opportunity here for hoteliers to really maximise a guest stay. And the other headlines on this slide shed some light about how hoteliers are perhaps relying more on upselling. So a report from Muse reveals that 1 in 5 properties now sell additional bookable spaces, such as car parking and meeting rooms, earning hoteliers an average of just over €8,000 extra per month. Breakfast was actually one of the most popular upselling additions during the check-in process for guests. And as the bottom headline explores, staff should be trained, informed, and incentivized to upsell. On the next slide, another revenue stream for hotels is gift cards. We've just learned from Lucy all that Toggle is achieving. And Persistence Market Research predicts the hotel gift card market will reach $133 billion by the end of 2030. And they've highlighted North America is seen as a real great opportunity for driving that growth due to increased awareness of e-commerce. And all that I've covered in these context slides demonstrates an industry shift away from RevPAR to total profitability. And I think gone are the days of utilizing room rates as the main revenue driver for hotels. Data sets, including diversified revenue streams and even including operational expenses, must be accounted for and analyzed. So I hope that has sparked all your curiosity. Let's talk about creating the ultimate revenue generating guest journey. I'd like to kick off with a question to Holly, if I may. Can you provide us an overview of what a typical guest journey looks like with Airship? And I mean the whole end-to-end pre, during, post-trip.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think your guest journey should start as soon as you collect that data. So whether that comes in from your PMS, your table bookings, a guest Wi-Fi, they would then, maybe come into Airship where it's not maybe recognized as being part of your database, and maybe an automated email is triggered, and that would be a welcome journey. Now, your welcome journey should introduce your brand, introduce your hotel, and basically, let them know who you are. A lot of hotels have a rich history as well. So really nice to touch on, the history of your building, the history of your hotel, but also just a way to engage with the customer before they actually enter your hotel. So an opportunity for them to be engaged and let them know that you have spa, golf, all of these lovely, lovely moving parts to your hotel. Now, a during visit might be an opportunity for you to cross-sell a part of the business. So you might want to, upon your check-in date, maybe automatically trigger out a gift card, which has a value of £15 towards maybe a treatment at the spa, or £10 towards a round of golf whilst they're staying with you. Or even if you have that ability with the integration for your PMS, you might want to pick up on anybody that has maybe have a bed and breakfast rate or something that you might want to cross-sell some food to. Molly's Motel, who is a customer of ours, a very, very lovely customer of ours, have actually set up their own API with our platform Toggle, which links with hotel apps. And as soon as somebody checks into the motel, a £25 gift card is actually pinged over to them for the value of £25, which ultimately cross-sells their F&B. And they've actually won awards for that, which is just fantastic. So they're doing it right. And then maybe a post-stay, a post-checkout journey might involve, obviously speaking to them and saying thank you for staying, but ultimately, you know, focusing on that retention, talking about what have you got on your, you know, your future marketing calendar, what have you got coming up. And maybe you might want to have a direct link to for a direct booking, so 20% off when you book next, or a free bottle of wine in the room. So really just kind of focusing on that and pulling people away a little bit from OTAs, not too much because we do need OTAs, but definitely, you know, keeping that retention there and that direct custom whilst you've got it.
Thanks, Holly. I want to venture more into the upselling and cross-selling experience. I mean, I've just highlighted there on the context that hoteliers are really seeing the opportunity now to start diversifying their revenue streams. And I know, Holly, you've just touched on some examples there, but Lucy, where are the opportunities to upsell and cross-sell using Toggl?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many different opportunities. In fact, Toggl, it's a really great tool for encouraging more spend within the business than just, as you mentioned before, like rather it just be a room, there's ample other opportunities. About 55% more is spent per visit when a guest visits with a gift card, which is just something to really consider. You know, however you're driving that person into venue, they will spend more. And I think following on from what Holly said around the sort of pre-check-in journey is a really important one. A lot of hotels have an abundance of facilities that they can have customers spending more money with. So it's about using that pre-booking journey to encourage that as much as possible. And we've done a little bit of insights, but you can also do your own as a business. Everyone's individual. But we see about 3 to 4 days prior to arrival is when people start to look at organising dinner or booking a dinner of some sort in the city or the town or wherever you might be. So one thing that a lot of our Airship customers do is build an automated email journey that triggers out maybe like a week before, automatically to a segment of people that have a booking coming up. So it could be people just on a B&B rate, perhaps, or don't have a booking already in your hotel restaurant. Sorry. So however you want to segment that, it's really easy to do. And obviously then the goal here is to upsell them to get a dinner booked in the restaurant. And it could be as simple as including a direct booking link within the email. Could even be a unique link where you can do some really clever tracking to see the effectiveness of that email. So there's so much you can do. But I think using Toggl specifically, there's a really lovely example. We have Ego Restaurants. We did a recent case study with them. I think that might also get shared in the webinar chat. So do keep an eye out for anyone who's on here. There we go, right on cue. So in summary, though, they made £72,000 from a single email that they sent out through Airship. And they used a feature called added value, which is a promotional feature within Toggl. And as it sounds, Ego promoted a bank holiday flash sale, which gave people the opportunity to buy a £50 gift card, but they would actually load in an extra £10 on top. So you'd get a total of £60 to spend. Really, really simple to do through Toggl. And they used Airship to send out sort of to their mass database, which is, I believe in total was about 260,000 people, active users, which gained them a really impressive 55% open rate, 2% click rate, and a 32% of that total audience actually made a purchase. So that's a guaranteed, £50 per head that you're getting into the bank account. And we did some additional tracking on the results there as well a bit later on, after seeing some of it get redeemed. And every email click was worth about £17 to Ego Restaurants. So it's an amazing return on investment. And it's really simple.
Yeah. Gosh, it sounds it. And Holly, you touched on it just a moment ago about the driving direct bookings, even though we do need the OTAs within our travel landscape. But could you elaborate on how these tools, technologies, and platforms can actually support and encourage a direct booking strategy? Because I know that's what hoteliers would very much want, more direct bookings straight into their business.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I say that we do need OTAs. They're a great way to get our hotels on the market, with many, many different hotels that goes without saying, we absolutely fundamentally do need OTAs. However, we are able to track from the insights from PMS data that we're collecting in Airship that actually OTAs are covering about 75% on average of hotel bookings. 25% of bookings usually are direct. Now, that 75% is fantastic to initially get somebody within your business, but it's actually what we do with that custom when somebody comes in your hotel, which is of paramount importance. So if you're collecting, obviously you get an alias, we all know this through kind of your OTAs, but if you are collecting that correct email address upon check-in, then you have that email address now, that's yours too, you know, that is so rich. So then you can start your guest journey from there. You know, you can start your post-checkout journey, where you're kind of thanking them for coming into your venues and incentivizing them for booking direct. So whether that be, you know, free breakfast, 50% off, you know, spa treatments, or 10% off if you book direct. All of these little things are so important, and it means that not only, you know, a direct booking, but we're able to engage with the customers with direct marketing as well, and making sure that we really do collect as much information upon check-in when we can, when they do check in person. For example, just a little example for you, Chestnut Pubs, which is a customer of ours, actually collect whether a customer has pets, because for example, you might send out a waiver for a pet fee upon a pet's birthday, or if they do have pets. So it is really, really important that we are learning all about our customers' trends, you know, their spending habits whilst they're in, and ultimately starting to create a customer profile for each person.
Mm-hmm. I heard a new quote the other day: data is the new oil, and hoteliers are sitting on a gold mine of data, and there certainly is much to be said here about how you actually utilize that data and build those detailed guest profiles for greater personalization moving forwards with all these amazing offers and discounts. Andy, I'd like to bring you into the conversation here, because I know your sort of focus is within the MICE space within hotels, and MICE has historically been such a lucrative field for hotels. My last webinar has just actually highlighted how that return of business travel is certainly helping with hotel revenues. But how is the guest journey changing within the MICE space, and as a result of that, where are you focusing your sales efforts?
Yeah, thank you. And the insight that we've just had from the guys is so vital. And what you've just said about data, I would say, and I'm not being mean to the hotel industry, but we are definitely behind the curve with data. If you look at Facebook, you look at Instagram, you look at Apple, you look at any of those guys, their whole business model is data. It's not what they do, it's the data. And then they do everything else around that. Now, even with MICE, yeah, definitely. As you said, I look after MICE, but obviously I have a overriding what I want to know how the hotel's doing in all aspects, because it's important that the hotel achieves. But I think with what I've just heard, I want to focus on two really important things. It is that everyone that walks through your door, whether they're coming through for MICE, whether they're coming through for a corporate stay because they're just visiting their head office, or if they're there for a social visit with friends and family, but you have to treat them as if they're your next customer for another piece of business. So repeat business is so much easier. And on this first point is that you might think that a conference of 400 that has been booked by a large corporate, and we might have a few event agencies on here, or we might have hoteliers on here today that have huge events teams. You might only speak to one or two people that have booked that event for 400 people for 2 days. The data that's walking through your door and the people that are walking through your door are so, so important. And it's something that I have had to get better at over the years. And look, that could be as silly as making sure that your notepads and pens on the tables are the proper branded notepads and pens, and that they take that pen away with them. And it means nothing. It sits in the bottom of their bag, but then suddenly they pull it out at the next meeting, and that's a tiny aspect. But the next aspect is making sure that you maybe do work with companies. I know that I've been speaking to Holly recently, and we are going to look into how can I get that out of those 400 people that are at that conference to engage with us after it in some way. And also not thinking that the second point is not thinking that hoteliers can do it all ourselves. I am a sales, I am in sales, and my job is to meet people and to get that business over the door. But actually, after that, my relationship's great. I take them for lunch, I do dinners, they do want to rebook with us, but actually that's not good enough. Because I'm Leonardo Hotels. I can tell you now, I am so proud to work in an industry where I have so much competition. When I come into work, I know that they can choose from one of, I would say, Leonardo Hotels. If you're coming up against us or we're coming up against someone else, that's one of 10 to maybe 15 other hotels that could easily do what we do. So what are you going to do to set your side? What are you going to do to set yourself apart from everybody else? And I think that is engagement. So yeah, that's me on the engagement side.
That's a great answer, and definitely something that has been echoed in previous webinars as well, that we are we're in the hotel industry and the hospitality industry. We are about people. We're a people-oriented sector. And I think with all these tools and technology platforms that are being launched that can help with the initial engagement, it's so important to have that personal engagement piece that Andy has been talking about there. Lucy, I want to focus on a slightly different sector of the hotel industry now, and I want to look at the F&B journey and the F&B guest journey. How is that changing?
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that Andy said actually about how the industry is a little bit behind in comparison to, you know, ASOS, retail. If you think of Apple, as you said, they're great examples. I do think, especially in the 3 years that I've been with Airship anyway, that the industry, but also the guest, have become a lot more tech savvy. So there's so much growth in all the different digital touch points that people can get involved in, and it's not just the younger generation, it's every generation. There's an amazing partner of ours called Cam Media who come up with an amazing array of insights, and that's something that they spoke about recently. It's, you know, making sure that you're tapping into every generation. But hospitality operators are finding more opportunities to engage with their customers. There's more varieties of technologies that people can get involved in, you know, whether it's a QR code on a table or order and pay, all these different ways of collecting data is really important to make sure you're part of that guest journey. But also I think it's worth mentioning that guests are getting fussier. So we want to have a really good experience. If we're going to spend, it kind of goes into what you were saying at the beginning on the introduction, that people are spending more on like holidays or whatever it might be, but they do expect that experience to be top notch, and that's really important as well. So personalization is so important. Using tools that we've got within Airship around sort of dynamic merging, which in layman's terms is basically just bringing a relatable message to that person who's receiving it. So if they have engaged most with one of your hotels, if you're a group of many, and then making sure that the content they receive is specific to that hotel, and making it effortless for the person that's actually putting those emails together by automating the process. It will definitely encourage more visits. And I think historically, you know, CRMs or just generally tech hasn't been advanced enough to really focus on automating that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think, and that's a big change in the F&B world and just generally marketing as a whole.
I would say on that point, I'm slowly, I say slowly, I have been tracking the F&B industry, particularly this year, and I know that even the past events that I've been to, that the F&B sector is drawing a lot of attention in terms of how hoteliers can actually better create the concept, better make sure that operationally that it's profitable, making sure that they are targeting the right customers with the right message. And you've just touched on it there Lucy, that with guests becoming fussier and expectations becoming higher, that knock-on effect on marketing efforts and conversion strategies are changing. Could you elaborate on maybe what that an ideal marketing strategy might be? Like what effect is this actually happening within the marketing space?
Yeah, I think part of the strategy needs to be around the more data you can collect from various different sources means the more you can understand about that customer or that consumer. So, I mean, pulling a sort of real life example for everyone to potentially look out for after this webinar is Giggling Squid. So they have a really lovely sign up journey on their website. So you probably all signed up to a journey before where you've kind of gone on, put in your information, and then you can receive emails from them. So they use Airship, where the following day after someone's signed up, they get triggered an additional message where they get the opportunity to update their profile. And by updating their profile, they get entered into a competition for a £50 gift card. So there's that incentive behind it at the same time. But it's a really simple form where they ask simple questions like, how do you giggle? Keeping it on brand, and that's takeaway, eat-in or delivery. When do you giggle? Breakfast, lunch or dinner? You can also understand sort of opt-in preferences around sensitive messaging. So ask people if they want to opt out for Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, you know, just really trying to hone in on personalization essentially and what that guest preferences are. And what Airship does is it automatically segments that customer into the correct groups so that when you do come around to doing a Mother's Day, National Day sort of event, you are suppressing anyone who doesn't want to hear about it. And that is becoming more and more like the standardized way of doing things in F&B. But I still think there's so much more that we can do.
On that note, Holly, what other behavioral insights and spending trends are you seeing across Airship and Toggle? I know I kind of touched on it during my introduction there, but can you share any further insights here?
Yeah, so actually this was not a planned topic, but I do feel like, you know, our topic right now, it is very important. So people are spending a lot more than they usually would because they're going out, you know, fewer times a year, but the times that they do go out, they're spending a lot more. And that is because it's a celebration or it's an occasion, you know, something lovely and a reason for them to go out. Now, where hotels come into it and where they're going to benefit from is the most common experience is actually an experience for two. So that opportunity to, you know, obviously at dinner, bed and breakfast, or focusing on key points in the marketing calendar, like Valentine's Day. We know that around about 3 weeks before somebody actually stays in a hotel, this is on average when they book. So making sure that we're looking at the marketing calendar and an ample opportunity for Mother's Day, Father's Day, you know, Valentine's Day, all of these key points in the calendar we're marketing towards, and we're really, you know, bringing in that max amount of revenue that we can. But in terms of behavior and insights and spending trends, you know, those experiences are a larger purchase than what they would usually be. People are booking spa treatments, you know, people are having a lot more of a celebratory time, really. But also little things like November and December. So 60% of sales for gift cards are usually made in November and December. That's because Black Friday, Christmas gifts, usually on Black Friday as well. We've run the stats, and the most common discount is about 20% for Black Friday. And actually, little plug for 6 by Nico here, because I know that obviously Michael was really looking forward to coming on the webinar. But 6 by Nico do absolutely fantastic on Black Friday. And if you haven't looked at their discount, you know, please do on Black Friday. I actually personally bought a gift for my partner last year because they have such an amazing promotion running, and it's just an amazing opportunity for any business to really jump on that time of year and make sure that we're, you know, looking at promotions and really maximizing that profit within our venues and hotels. So yeah, I think there is a big trend in terms of people spending a lot more and just, you know, going for that little bit of luxury.
Can I just quickly, as I earlier, jump in there and say, look, it's exactly what they've just said, and then I'd go one step further and been saying that we cannot do it on ourselves, and a good CRM system and actually the relevant data I had an analogy is that once I got told, a boss said to me, I haven't seen any of the marketing. I've not seen it. It's not on my social media. It's not there. And I said, well, thank God, because the marketing team are doing the right thing, because you are not our target market. Because if we had sent it to you, you would have switched off. Now, he wouldn't, but it's the kind of thing where it's the relevant information you really need. Fill out when is your birthday, and get a 5% or 10% card, because then you know their age, then you know where you can push them to. You do need to know if they are a high level manager, or they are like myself, I am a traveling salesman. I am going to have a budget that is different. And all those things are so important, so that you are targeting someone, because we have all got those emails that we have blocked. We have all got those marketing things that we will not get involved in. But if you work with a company like Airship or Toggle, you will get what you need out of that demographic that you are trying to push.
Mm-hmm. Andy, whilst we're with you, you talked earlier about engagement and how anybody that walks through a hotel door, that there is data there to be captured and leveraged. So how is Leonardo utilizing guest profiles and that data to drive greater engagement?
Yeah, I mean, we are doing it really well, and we're growing. Obviously, our company was bought. Leonardo Hotels is starting to buy a lot of the stock that is around and we're getting a lot better at it. But I would say it is literally from the reception when you check in and asking a few little questions. But also, as we said earlier, when you get that initial booking, it's sending them an email follow-up with, we see you haven't booked breakfast. We see that this is a spa treatment if you book now, as everyone else has mentioned. And it's not bombarding them either. It's making it really easy and kind of, you want to engage with them, but you also don't want to become the blocked email. So we are making sure that if someone's booking a room and they haven't included breakfast, they'll definitely get a breakfast email. If they are there on business, it's to do with things like, well, letting you know we have meeting rooms for 2, 3, 4 people, all the way up to 100. Because it's surprising how many last minute, oh my God, I am at the moment in a competitor's hotel, and it's lovely, I'll say, but I needed to escape somewhere quickly, and they had the facilities to do that. Now, if you let them know in advance, they might not just sit in the bar. They might not just go to the local business centre that they know of. If we've let them know, they're like, oh my goodness, perfect. And they'll book a meeting with us.
Can you elaborate here? I know we've only just touched on the retention piece. So far, it's been mainly sort of like attracting and capturing that initial customer and guest. But Andy, have you identified any areas where that return to site piece can be activated more to drive the loyalty and retention on site? Where can that be improved?
Yeah, it's really, really important. Repeat business is so much easier to follow up with. It is, you have to get to know your client's needs, and it is as little as that. You know that the CEO, when he's coming in, will want a green room just off the meeting space. It is knowing that actually dietary requirements are super important for that client. And honestly, it will be something randomly different. It's not actually thinking that every client is the same, because you will have clients that are all about the AV. They are all about the experience when they come in. Some clients couldn't give a monkeys. They really couldn't. So it's not I think it's just not assuming. So again, it's that for me, when I initially meet a client, I want to find those things out. We then hand them over to event planners, and at Leonardo Hotels, they're doing a superb job of then it's just digging down into the little questions, and it's asking them that when they're sending out bedroom requirements to people that are either booking contracted bedrooms or who are doing them on allocation, that it's creating that email of, okay, well, where are your clients traveling from? Is it Europe? Is it America? Is it Asia? Because they will all have different needs. And then it's kind of like, okay, so how long are they in town for? And then if you're clever, if someone's coming over to London, especially, they are not coming to London for 2 or 3 days and then leaving. I would say a huge percentage of them are hopping to Europe. They are going to hop to another destination. I found recently that a lot of clients, when they're coming to London, a lot of head offices are now based around the rest of the country. So it's saying, oh, hello, I've got a hotel in Manchester, I've got a hotel in Brighton, and it's utilising that kind of huge ladder of what the business is doing.
And again, Lucy, were you about to say something, Lucy? Oh, you're on mute.
Well, you think you'd learn by now.
I've got you, don't worry.
I was just going to add to what Andy was saying there, actually, because it just came to mind that it is something that we were discussing quite recently around if you've got, you know, VIP customers or clients, or even, you know, regular clients that use your meeting and event space, whoever it might be, you want to target on this one. We've got a feature in Toggl, which we called Toggl Champions. Essentially, it's a refer a friend mechanic. The idea behind it is that you can very easily reward people that are referring friends, but it doesn't have to be friends. It could be family, it could be influencer followers through social media, it could be other clients in the same space for hoteliers. There's, you know, so many opportunities to encourage new footfall. But of course, the way that Champions works is not only are you encouraging new people to come through the door, but you're also then rewarding that existing customer. So for guest retention, it's absolutely huge, especially in the kind of corporate side of things.
Andy, can I come back to you as the hotelier on the panel? What advice would you provide for best optimizing data to help increase that retention? I know you've provided some examples so far, but if you could sort of drill that down into a nutshell, what would that be?
Yeah, it's being accurate. I know that sounds really silly, but if the email is, like, we speak about it a lot, if the email is .com.co.uk, if you miss being able to email them, that's really bad. But then also the next thing is their company address, just so someone can have a look at what does this company actually do. So it's what does the company do, where are they located, and then I would go even further as that you actually want that individual's personal kind of preferences as well. Yes, we're working with them on a corporate level, we're working with them in the MySpace, but you know what? It would be really good that if they did then travel with a family up to Manchester, Liverpool, Brighton, places like that, that when they then stay there, it's so funny how many people have booked meetings because they've got, oh my God, I went to Manchester, I went to Brighton, I didn't know you had a hotel there that could do a meeting space. I had a prime example of a bank that did that with me. They went for drinks and cocktails at the Grand Hotel, which we're very lucky that we've just recently bought. And he sent me an inquiry for it. And he said, I didn't realize, one, that you'd got the Grand, or that it had such great meeting space. So yeah, let's, if we can, target them for social stays as well, because again, we want them to be a client of Leonardo's, and we want them to buy into the brand, not just for a meeting and then go home. We want them to know that actually we've got luxury hotels. They can take their wife or their family away for a lovely weekend or a week, and then it's kind of that they are becoming, as the guy said, that they're becoming loyal to what you do.
Do you think that they're just staying with you again, Andy? Do you think that we're going to see increasing, I want to look at sort of cybersecurity enhancements. We've had a question come in through from the audience here about the importance of data collection and data processing. You know, what processes are in place to ensure that this data is protected and in compliance with legislation. Andy, can I come to you on this? A, what are your thoughts? And B, what do you have in place to make sure that it's all GDPR compliant and that there is no cybersecurity is obviously?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, look, I'm first of all, I'm going to not lie straight away. I am definitely not the technical guy, but I do know, obviously, and all the hoteliers on here today will be working with booking.com. They will be working with all different regions of booking. And honestly, so the IT departments and your head of IT are such a crucial link, because this then goes into, as we said, data is oil. You can't lose it, and you can't get fined, because you will get fined. You will also have people that are now very protective about their data. It's just as important if someone says they don't want to be contacted to get rid of them, because one, they're making it very clear. But I would say, look, not knowing too much about our IoT structure, we are constantly receiving emails and training. I went on a training course last week that reminded me about how this is what you do with data. This is how you need to, because I get told to take, I am obviously that lovely sales guy that is emailing people and calling people, and not as much as it used to, but I'm very lucky now that most people don't ask to get removed, but they do. And I think that's just as important as well, because annoy people.
No, absolutely. Lucy or Holly, would you be able to come in on this piece and maybe talk about what your thoughts and maybe what you've installed into the tech stack? Lucy?
Yeah, sorry. I'll go for it, Holly.
Yeah.
Go on. So for Airship and Toggle, obviously we look after millions of lines of data, send out millions of different emails yearly. So it is a big part of what we do. So we generally follow the ICO guidelines. We're the data processor, and our clients, hoteliers, restaurants, whoever they might be, are the processors. So we make sure that you are doing things correctly. All of our staff, all of our teams, everyone in the business is GDPR compliant in the way that they're trained as well. So they've been to various training sessions and things like that to ensure they know what to do, what the right answers are. So what our general process would be is, lean on us. But also, you can be smart with the way that you use your data as well. So, the way that someone's maybe opted in when they've made a booking, but perhaps they've, purchased something at the bar, opted out, the way that we can actually manage that data is the customer has a genuine interest in your business, and therefore you can market to them, unless they have quite clearly, opted out, unsubscribed, then we quite rightly, move into a whole new group that never get touched.
That kind of builds on a question that we've had come in from the floor then around if people are becoming more conscious of their data being shared for security reasons or maybe opting out, do we think that the size of data sources will reduce and become less valued? And actually, it sounds like, Lucy, you're saying that there's actually a clever, if that happens, you could be smart about the way that you use data and leverage it, and be more savvy. Is there anything that you would like to add on that question about whether data sources will reduce and will they become less valued? I'd imagine not, but please.
Yeah, so it's a very, very valid question, and definitely something that's I think on a lot of people's minds. GDPR, as much as it was implemented a long time ago, it's still something that's, unless you work with data on a regular basis, you maybe are a little bit nervous around doing the right thing. But generally speaking, the richer that data is, so if that's come directly from the customer from a direct source, we integrate directly with your PMS, for example, we know that they've opted in at that point. Therefore, it's a much richer piece of data. Therefore, I'd argue it's actually more valuable. Even if your database shrinks slightly, the people that you are removing from your database will generally be because you're keeping it nice and clean, which is something we can help with. So actually, I would argue that it's probably more valuable to have a rich, smaller database than a big, unengaged database.
No, great answer.
Guys, stepping in as a hotelier there, and this is for me asking you guys, I would assume that it's only going to get bigger. Now, I don't mean to cast aspersions on the demographic on this group, but I'm obviously in my 40s, and I would say that the younger people now, it can only grow. Data can only get bigger, because the way that the younger generations do everything is all through data. It's through their phones. We've moved to a online booking system. You can book a meeting room for 400 people, cabaret style, with AV, and you don't have to speak to anybody. And you can go all through that process to contract. Now, you might have to make a phone call when someone puts and plans the event. And so for me, I can only see that actually data will only get richer than oil and gold all put together. And we'll have to manage these data processes even harder.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Data is currency, as I think Holly said to me earlier today.
And Lucy, whilst you're here, I've got two questions that I want to sort of end on. Lucy, as with you, I'll ask one to you, and I'll come to Holly for the final one. But those hoteliers that are looking to improve the ROI of their tech stack and actually exploring the integration piece and looking at really trying to everything that we've talked on today, what advice would you give to those hoteliers that are here to learn and want to actually walk away with something actionable?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question. I think the number one thing that any hotelier needs to kind of almost sit back and consider is their tech ecosystem. So we talk about it a lot because CRM generally is like the central hub of everything. You know, you should ideally have as much data feeding into your CRM as possible. And I'm fully aware that, you know, that is sometimes also just as much as a good thing as it is the challenge at the same time. If you've got this ecosystem of tech that's been with the business for a long time, you know, the difficulties of potentially changing some of that, you know, we come up against that challenge on a regular basis. And I think I actually watched a webinar about a week ago now, which was talking about that many operators only pick up about 2% of their overall footfall, which is a stat that I sort of stole from them. So I don't know where it's come from, but it was quite interesting to hear. And we just want to try and encourage that is as high as possible. So the more integrations we can switch on for any of our customers, whether that be Wi-Fi, whether it be bookings, PMS, feedback, you know, order and pay, spa, you know, all these different elements of the business that we can tap into so that we can help track your guests' behaviour with your entire business and not just one area potentially. I think one really common potential challenge as well that we see a lot of hoteliers do is that potentially wanting to run before they can walk. And I think it's really good to just not focus on, you know, that absolute dream scenario where you've got all this amazing data and you know that the minute someone walks through the door, you know who they are, you know their pet's name and you know their favourite drink. Maybe focus on, you know, if you haven't got a really good pre-visit journey set up, then maybe focus there first. And it's something that, you know, we, Airship and Toggle, can really help, for example, just build towards that and build towards that ultimate dream goal of having everything in place and everything talking to each other. I think that's probably my number one advice.
And Holly, I'm going to give you the final word here. I mean, the title of this webinar is called Creating the Ultimate Revenue Generating Guest Journey. So on that note, where are those opportunities for hotels and restaurants to capture greater demand and ultimately that revenue?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it goes without saying, I feel like this has been the word of the webinar, but engagement, absolutely engagement, but not just engaging, you know, every week, you know, every couple of days, not overload, engaging with the right email, the right target at the right time. So I'll give you a little example from one of our customers, Tap and Run, which are two cricketers for England. They have a pub and kitchen and they're using Airship and Toggle. And they have a really powerful birthday journey that is triggered 2 weeks before somebody's birthday. And it is a link to their table reservations. And they ultimately offer a free bottle of Prosecco if you go ahead, book a table and spend over £50. Now, we've been able to track the ROI from that email alone, and they made £13,000 in 1 year from that email. So it's just the amount of, you know, the importance of sending the right emails with the right content. And there's so many other, examples that I could give you. But I think just massively focusing on speaking to the right people at the right time. And also cross-selling different venues. You're picking up postcodes through PMS, you're picking up addresses. Cross-sell your other venues if that's within their postcode, their mile radius. And also last minute footfall. We all know, for example, hospitality falls off a cliff a little bit in January. So make sure that you're segmenting an audience with a certain mile radius and advertising, sleeper Sundays or last minute footfall for weekend breaks. Make sure that we're targeting when we can really, really, speak to these people and pick up that last minute footfall if we need it. So little examples like that, I would say, but there's 100 more examples I could give.
It certainly demonstrates the importance of having that clean data set, as Lucy was saying. Your output is only going to be as great as your input, and if that data that you are inputting is not accurate, then that messaging that you are delivering could be a missed opportunity there. So I just wanted to reiterate that being clean with that data set and understanding, as you've mentioned, postcodes or understanding the greater landscape here could really help to drive that revenue. We have fast approached an hour time on this webinar. I'll say thank you very briefly to Holly, Lucy and Andy for their insights. I've got my team to pull up some closing slides here. We will keep this webinar open for an extra 2 minutes at the end to allow our audience members to follow up on any of the links that we have popped into the chat. But I'm just going to be running through some closing slides before we say a more formal goodbye. I'm going to be returning same time next week, on Monday, the 9th of October, for a webinar on the synergies of boutique hotels and short-term rentals. We'd love to see you there. And if you'd like to register, that link has been popped into the chat there. And as similarly to what we've done today, where we've partnered with Airship for this bespoke webinar, if you're interested in working with us, please get in touch with my colleagues, Jordan and Piers. Their details are on your screen, but have also been popped into the chat there. So we would love to hear from you. We're also trying to drive that engagement, so I just had to get a final word in there too. But all that's left for me today is say thank you. Thank you to Airship for giving us the opportunity to host this really insightful conversation. I can see some comments in the chat there, one of which just says amazing. So I think that's a pretty good barometer of what we've achieved today. But thank you once again to Holly, Lucy and Andy. Bid you farewell, and we'll see you this time next week. So enjoy the rest of your days, and we'll see you all very soon.